All right, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Team Cat, Team Iron Man, to Four Reels Radio. Today we are reviewing Civil War, the seven-issue trade. With me today, as from where the fuck are you? Somewhere in Pennsylvania,
Yeah, somewhere in Pennsylvania.
is Nate. Nate, say hello.
Hello! Getting ready to talk about some superhero on superhero violence.
It's not as funny as you make it sound.
It really is
And
not.
from the Fortress of Solitude, I'm sure that's where he's at, is Tom. Tom, say hello.
What's up, Internet? Who's ready to talk about a thinly veiled allegory for the Patriot Act with punching?
Holy shit, they got deep quick.
That's why they
Got
gave
way
you the
too many
big
opinions for
glasses,
this show.
Scott. They gave you the big glasses because they have the most opinions.
Well, maybe. So,
All right.
Okay, so to start off, we'll just give a quick overview.
For anybody who hasn't seen the commercials for the movie or heard of Civil War, even though it's 10 years old,
Yeah, that's why we're doing this, because the Captain America Civil War movie is going to be coming out in a couple weeks, so we figured we'd go back and look at the story. It's going to probably be very loosely based on. So
the concept, not even the story, man.
yeah, exactly. So it's written by Mark Millar, with pencils by Steve McNiven and a bunch of inkers and colorists, and there's a big long list of things. General
It's
story.
Mike Miller. Mark Miller.
It's Mark Millar, our very
Millar,
own patron
pardon.
saint of angry 13-year-olds. All credit goes to other people who have said that before me. But basic story is the New Warriors superhero team were doing a reality TV show, because I guess that's what they were doing. And they were trying to catch some villains, and one of them went nuclear and destroyed an entire town. And no one is okay with this. Everyone is sad. And now every superhero, even the ones that were nowhere near there, are bad people and are looked down upon by society. And the
Who
government...
watches The Watchmen?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically.
And then, the government's like, we want to have a registration act so we know who the hell you people are, because a lot of you have secret identities. And Tony Stark is totally okay with that. Captain America's like, no, screw you. I'm not going to do that because I'm reasons. That's literally all there is, just reasons. They end up fighting. And then, yeah, various sides are drawn. Spider-Man's on one side, reveals his identity. Then he joins another side. A lot of superheroes some superheroes get killed. There's a cyborg of Thor at one point.
Robot clone. Right?
There's
Ragnarok.
space. Reed Richards and Iron Man think it's a great idea to have space gulags for anybody who doesn't agree with them, which isn't fascist as fuck. And then,
If you're wondering, Internet, this is where most of the reasons for Reed Richards is a horrible asshole come from, along with everything else he's ever done. Reed
But this
Richards.
is
Whoa,
actually-
we're going to have to debate that, because I liked reading this one, and I don't even like the Fantastic Four.
okay, so in the end, there's a big slugfest at the end where Team Cap and Team Iron Man go fighting and fighting and fighting, and then Captain America is like, wait, look at all this destruction. We did a bad thing. Guys, let's stop fighting, because fighting is bad.
Mm-hmm.
The end!
Pretty
And
good
then-
summary.
And
All right,
then
so real
another
quick,
comic
like,
gets shot to death.
we aren't spoiling other comics, bruh.
It happened right after.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Anyway,
all
Kyle, you were
all
gonna say
27 of our test. All right, but real quick, one thing I want to go into, just because we were talking about this, is while reading it, did you guys attach or get really invested in any of the character stories? Nate, you first.
Or Tom, if you have something to say, you can go first. I guess.
No, go ahead.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this book because I was talking to Kyle before we started recording, and this might have been one of the first trade paperbacks I ever bought. I I think one of the things that got me into comics was like driving in the car one day with Kyle and him being like, "Oh hey, so in comics they're doing this thing where Captain America's fighting Iron Man and there's a civil war going on." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds intriguing." I think when I really first read it, I really attached to it. I really liked like Captain America's like side because I was like, "No, like be superheroes, be special." And of course, Tony Stark is okay with sharing his secret identity because he already did that. But like reading this again, I don't know if I really identified. No,
we're not identified with. Obviously, none of us are flying gods.
Well,
but
like I don't.
That we know of.
My general feeling of this is a lot of people, again, a lot of characters in this are just generally awful.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, not as in like everyone's a bad person. Like everyone has things that they do badly. Like Captain America doesn't realize until the very last second that he's okay, that fighting might have caused property destruction and like pain, and we became the problem. Iron Man's a fascist in this, and like Tom said, Patriot Act, whatever. Maria Hill's an awful character, so it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad for the B team people, like Wiccan and some of those people who and Patriot or whatever who joined.
Yeah, is that his little assistant, the little black Captain America? Yeah, that guy.
I feel for those people because I literally felt like the entire thing with this is like, hey man, we decided to make arbitrary boundary lines and fight over this, and they're like, pick a side, and they're like, I just wanted to rescue that lady from her getting mugged, and they're like, no, you got to pick a side. So I think I feel most for them. Tom, you got any thoughts on characters you might have?
Well, I'll just say that I haven't read this series since I was in high school. And this was like one of the first Marvel thing I ever delved more into, read all the tie-ins and all that, But reading just the core story, I'll definitely say it starts out pretty strong, if a little heavy-handed. There's a scene in the first issue where, coming out of the memorial service for the town, Tony Stark gets spit on by the mother of this one kid who died in the explosion. She's like, "Oh, his blood is on your hands now," and then they just sort of chop forward in time to show, oh, she's a political activist and she's helped push this Superhero Registration Act through, and that's intriguing. I'll say I still kind of generally agree with Team Cap in all this. I do find it kind of dumb that Spider-Man chose to reveal his identity because he ignored the one fundamental rule of his existence, which is probably one of the foundational laws of the Marvel Universe.
Parker luck!
Yeah, everything shitty happens to Spider-Man. Those are two constants. Matt Murdock can never be happy. Everything shitty happens to Spider-Man.
So
this is just how it is. Honestly, yeah, you're right. It did feel like everybody was just they were talking points. I mean, everybody had some cool moments, like the fight Cap has with all of Maria Hill's shield soldiers in the beginning is a legitimately awesome fight. There's one warehouse ambush that is really well done. I'll say this for this series, it's really well drawn. Steve McNiven went all out. That's the bomb. And stuff like the Iron Spider costume and stuff is cool, but yeah, I couldn't really, I felt really removed from this whole event. I wasn't really invested in anything. I wasn't really invested in making sure, oh, so-and-so made it to the end or whatever. I don't know. Kyle, what did you think?
Well, see, the reason I'm asking that is because I had a lot of characters I liked. I'll be the representative for Team Iron because even though I don't really have a side, I love the, what was it? It was Iron Man, Reed Richards, and who else? Hank Pym, that little trifecta of, super scientist. I wish they did more with that because, that idea to me of just, the three smartest people in the universe getting together and trying to accomplish something. It seems like it could be awesome, and they didn't feel like they did enough with it. And this, so that little trifecta to me was an awesome group. Spider-Man, even though he's a treacherous asshole, Benedict Arnold, piece of shit, he had some cool moments. Do you guys remember the Punisher moment?
Oh yeah.
That was one of my favorites because I was just like, okay, like how desperate is Cap, and like that made me interested in the Cap team again. Because for me, it was just sort of like, hey, we're gonna run and hide and lose bases and lose people, and it's like playing XCOM on Impossible. You're just kind of waiting to lose. So
Well,
that was sort of. Go ahead, Nate.
if it's the moment I'm thinking of, that was such a weird. Like, I think it was a good but a weird moment for me too, because like I said, like so much of it has been playing like XCOM on Impossible. People are dying, but we're doing this for the cause, kind of things, or at least that's kind of how Cap seems to come off. And then like he gets into a slugfest. Is this where he gets into a slugfest with Punisher? Are you talking about?
It's not really a slugfest. It's Punisher refuses to fight back. He's like, yeah, I'm not fighting you. Like, you're not a problem.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, and it's like, okay, or like Punisher's like, oh yeah, I killed 2 of these villains, and Cap's like, what are you talking about? You're a murderous piece of trash. And then he's like, fight me, and it's like, it was a good moment for Cap, like the Captain America people know, to kind of come forward, but it seemed a little bit out of left field with jarring with how Cap had been. Like, this is maybe like the beginning of his waking up, but for a while
exactly.
Yeah, so that was a good moment. It was just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay. It was also par for the course with the parade of smashed faces, because everyone gets the shit kicked out of them in this book. Because
Nate, I thought you would have had like a little nerdgasm with the Daredevil Silver reference.
Oh, what was that
Do you
reference?
Remember that? Let me find it. It's the end of one of the issues. I'm trying to figure it out right now. I think it's at the end of issue 5.
Well, I was trying to remember. Is this before or after when the Shadowland event happened? So like
This
this is way before Shadowland.
So Daredevil is Matt. He's not Danny Rand yet.
No. This is Matt Murdock, blind guy, Daredevil.
Matt Murdock.
Issue 5, right? So Daredevil gets brought in, and he's got a piece of silver in his mouth, and then like he tells the guards, like, you can take me and make sure you give this to Tony.
Oh yeah, the Judas moment.
Dude, that was fucking dope. Like, it took me a second.
Okay, here's the thing. I like the moment, and at the same time, it is so like just
heavy-handed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, I like it, but like I at no point would ever tell you it's like, it's not just like there. It's like, oh, you want to accuse someone of being a traitor? Of course you'd bring up Judas and like whatever. It's like,
But I mean, like, it's just kind of cool. Like, it's like sort of like a Batman moment, because you know what I'm saying? Like, Batman's got like contingency plans for everything, and it's like Daredevil planned to be bought in. He just happened to have the coin. Like, it's like, I'm gonna get caught. I'm gonna lose this fight, but I'm gonna hurt your ego. And I'm just like, oh, that's pretty dope.
No, yeah. That was good. I like that.
Yeah. What did you think of Spider-Man's role in this? Because he's sort of he sort of shifts from side to side as the story goes on. What do you guys think of that?
Kyle, what do you think?
Oh, you want me to go first? Let me see. Well, I've never been a big Spider-Man fan because he's sort of got Superman-style rules where it's like, yeah, you're right, bad shit happens to him, but he's always gonna, save the day in the end.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel like, I've never been a big Spider-Man fan, so to see him, go all traitory it's just sort of like, why did they use such a big figure for it? Because like Nate was saying, there's a lot of B-team guys here who are just sort of being bounced around between teams, and they I just want to fight bad guys. I woke up, I could throw fireballs, I have an obligation to society to help, and I'm like, those guys are awesome. Let's talk more about them. But they had to use Spider-Man as the bounce between. I'm glad it gives them an excuse to put him in the movie because that looks exciting as shit. But as far as in this comic, it's just sort of a bounce thing. His little like escape from Iron Man was pretty cool, but besides that, not a big Spidey fan, so I can't say much. Nate?
Yeah, I'm gonna second Kyle's thing of the Spider-Man's escape was a fun scene. My initial knee-jerk reaction when you said, "What did you think about Spider-Man in this series?" was, "Hi, I'm a picket sign. I'm on this side right now. Now I'm going to be held by this side." Like, he was almost more of a MacGuffin than a character. Because it's like, Or like a figurehead. It's like, oh, you know what's really going to prove our help with this? Spider-Man is coming forward, and he's going to say his identity. And then he's like, oh, wait, no, I'm on that side. I get it. Like, I buy it. I like the visual difference in that Spider-Man changes costumes when he goes to Cap's side. Like, that was cool to me, and I don't know. I've not been the hugest fan of the Iron Spider costume. Oh, we just lost Tom.
Yep.
But that was not my biggest fan.
There he is.
He has returned!
Yep. Tablets are fun.
Tablets are very fun.
You're not going to get, really good reception in the Fortress of Solitude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. This is, DC waging war on our Marvel cast. But
guys, come on!
Justice
Superman
League
versus Batman's full theaters. Give us some attention.
No, guys, no! Batman v Superman was totally subtle and totally awesome. No, it totally makes sense.
All right, back to the Civil War.
Anyway,
right? Yeah. So Nate, how'd you feel about Spider-Man in this?
Oh, I just said. Sorry, you just didn't hear it.
You missed it.
Yeah, I just sort of dropped out. Okay.
We're both anti-Spider-Man.
He was.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of like a figurehead.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really do anything. It was more just like, whose side is he on? And then when he changed costumes, I thought that was a nice visual difference. I will agree with what you said earlier, Tom, and this is why I feel conflicted, because I really like the art style of a lot of certain things, and there's certain panels in here that look really cool and iconic, and like the covers. Like there's that one cover that shows like everyone else is down, but like Captain America's on his knees and is blocking Iron Man's like blast with his shield. That's a really cool cover. A really cool art. It's some of the things people do within the story that kind of bug the heck out of me.
Yeah.
With that, can we segue to talk about how awful Maria Hill is?
Oh yeah, she's terrible. And I should mention, for context, if you're wondering why Maria Hill is the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. and not Nick Fury, if you're reading this for the first time, it's because Nick Fury was deposed from the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. because of reasons. And Maria Hill's in charge now. Because reasons.
Is Maria Hill always this awful? Or is this a malarkey symptom?
I mean, I don't really know. I understand no, but, she's very much like,
Well, Tom's lagging like a bat. No, I don't. Might have to have you reconnect Tom. Can I drop him? No, I can't.
Okay,
either way.
Connect again. Bear with us, listeners.
Yeah, exactly. But no, what was I saying about Maria Hill? From everything I've seen from her before this issue, she's very much Nick Fury's deputy, second in command, just sort of follows orders and executes. So it makes sense to me why when she's in charge, just like, well, what have I been doing before? Executing. What should I do now? Execute.
I get that, and that makes sense to me in a way. It's things like, hey, we're going to make an entire team of villains. Because, to stop the heroes that are not doing well, and Tom is calling back on the wrong thing.
Exactly.
That's not how this works. Anyway, but it's like that to me was like kind of ridiculous, and like I think one thing that just was the fact that there's that scene, even like one of the first things of like, we're rounding up superheroes that aren't registered, and it's like Patriot running on the rooftops, and they're like, oh, it's an unregistered superhero who helped save that lady from being like, mugged, but now we've got to like attack him with a helicopter, and I'm like,
oh, but they're tranquilizers.
I still don't.
No, I know. I fully agree. They're shooting at superheroes. It makes no fucking sense.
And just how like fast it just turns around from this moment of like, this is something we should consider and talk about to, okay, boys, get in the helicopters, and like that to me was I think my biggest complaint about Maria Hill, the fact that she's just willing to escalate and escalate and escalate.
She's the world's shittiest police officer. Yes.
Which I guess there goes, as Tom mentioned, the very thinly vague metaphor, allegory, or whatever to the Patriot Act, but. Yeah.
All right, I gotta figure out a way to. Can I unlive this? Let me try stopping the broadcast. If not, we can make it a two-parter. If it works, then I can just restart it.
Gotcha.